this evening, Caggie Dunlop. Caggie needs no introduction. Singer, songwriter, former TV personality, and host to a highly successful podcast on successful spirituality and wellbeing podcast, Saturn Returns. And now you have first-time author to add to your accolades.
Yes, first-time author. It's quite a
journey.
Group of things that I've explored, but yes, thank you for that.
Well, you know, first of all, congratulations on the release of the book, which we will be talking about a little bit later on. But first of all, for us at Aromatherapy Associates, we are, for those of you who don't know us, we are a British aromatherapy brand. We have been in the industry of blending beautiful essential oils to meet the well-being for over 38 years now. We are still hand blending here in London in our lab. And this January, we are really focusing on the joy of missing out, or as the young folk like to call it, JOMO. And we want to make sure that actually, do you know what, that cancelled plan or the no plans at all are put to good use, and to make sure that actually we're utilising to look after ourselves. So we're going to kind of talk a little bit about our Dreamy Night In edit. Caggie, I hear you've had your bath this evening.
I did. I had to have it to warm up, but I have a bath a day. I do love a bath.
Yeah, actually, do you know what? First of all, tell us a little bit about actually what your favourite blend of ours are.
Well, to be honest, I use a lot of the Deep Relax bath and shower oil, because I think that's just the one that I've had most, and it's got like quite an earthy tone to it. It's like really lovely. So, and also it's usually what I'm wanting to do, which is relax. I've also got quite a bad back at the moment, so I was like, maybe that will help in some way.
I was going to say that's actually the blend that was created by our founder when she was caught by her aromatherapy teacher taking sleeping pills, and that blend was created for her to be able to get a good night's rest, to completely knock her out and get a good night's rest. Which, by the sounds of it, because you've been very busy, you'll need.
Yes, I do need that. But then I love anything that has rose in it. So went like more for around the flat, and I like, you know, I've got a couple of the infusers.
Yeah.
The latest one that I've got, I have to say, I'm like confused by it. I'm not using it the right way and just putting essential oil on top of it.
Yeah, absolutely. That is how you use it. So ceramic dish, you just pop yourself on top.
And how does that work? Because I have it while I'm working, and it really does infuse the room quite quickly, but I don't understand how it's doing it.
It's warming up. So basically your pure essential oil it's a volatile liquid, basically. Putting it on that, it heats it up and it evaporates up into the room. So making sure that actually it's not just being applied to your body. That's one way that we do it. We can apply essentials to our body, is by applying them. But you can then also put them in a diffuser to aromatize your room. But going back to your bath, can I just ask how you use it?
I literally just pour. I think I know. I'm supposed to have been pouring a capsule like top, but I haven't. I'm not gonna lie, I haven't been doing that, and I probably use it too generously.
You know what? You're not the only one though, Caggie. So we're talking about our lovely Dreamy Night In edit, which is one of our kits that we are we created to, like I said, to create this perfect night in. Something's been cancelled, or you have no plans at all, and you just want to have this perfect night in. And absolutely, your Deep Relax is part of that kit. And in terms of using it, I think it's one of those, we're kind of just myth busting as we go along. You are right, it has to be a capful. So one capful that you use on the torso before you go into the bath. And it's set to be the right concentration to be able to have the same effects as if you were having a treatment, basically. So yeah, so Deep Relax, you've got your sandalwood in there, your vetiver, super calming, super relaxing, to kind of just set you off to a beautiful night rest. And did you use your candle by any chance?
I haven't lit it yet because I've got one of the bigger ones on the go, and Sydney, who works with me, is like, stop lighting all your candles at the same time, which I tend to do. But this is very cute. And I do love to have a candle when I'm having a bath. Like for me, bath time is a sacred moment. And for the last like 5 years, I've treasured a night in over going out. And so that, like, when I found my apartment as well, the sort of deciding factor was like, I have to have a bath. Like I have to have a bath, and it has to be ideally quite a nice bath. And I would show it to you, but I'm not going to now. But it's a very indulgent bath. And so I get the whole works: candles, incense,
Amazing.
oils, and just that's my time to kind of have a moment for myself.
Do you know what? I cannot think of anything better, especially with these kind of cold nights. A candlelit room, so you're saving on the electricity as well, plus the warm water, plus the essential oils. I mean, what else do you want? And actually, do you know what? There's another little bit in your Dreamy Night In edit that you have in there. Your pink clay mask.
Yes, I actually used this earlier when I feel like my skin actually looks quite,
It looks
from it.
super glowing.
This, yeah, and it's rose as well.
Yeah.
Can you use it in your hair?
You can. So this is like a multi-use product. That's why I love it so much. So this is our pink clay mask. I'm going to bring it up to the screen to see if you can see it. It is beautiful. So you can actually apply this not only to your face as like a normal facial mask. You can apply it all over your hair. So it really helps to kind of withdraw any impurities, rebalance the skin. You can pop it down onto the décolleté as well. So if you've got any sort of acne on the décolleté or on the back, it is a beautiful, beautiful treatment. A really indulgent kind of treat for the bath. Leave it on 5-7 minutes and then wash off, ideally after you've exfoliated your skin as well. And yeah, so how did you find it?
It was super hydrating actually, because my skin's been really playing up a lot and quite dry, I think, because it's so cold, and then you have the heating on, and so it's like, you know, that can make your skin dry out quite a lot. But actually I found this really hydrating. How many times a week can you use it?
2 to 3 times a week. So anytime that you're exfoliating, you can apply it, definitely. And even sometimes what I would do is I spot apply it. So if I've got any kind of breakouts, I'll just put it on the on that little breakout and leave it on.
Yeah, it was really nice.
I'm gonna launch one of the first questions, but fastest finger first. So if everyone is ready, I'm gonna ask, what did Caggie say her favourite blend was?
Deep Relax.
Oh gosh! Oh, you gotta write it down as fastest finger first. I'm really sorry.
Oh, Deep Relax.
I'm going to leave my colleagues sort of scroll back up to the top. You're absolutely right. Deep Relax was her favourite blend. So yes, fastest finger first for the answer. Amazing. And Caggie, can you tell? I mean, you've spoken about your bath and how you like to kind of what other kind of things you like to do to take a moment of self-care and looking after yourself. Obviously, you know, you're pretty busy. What do you do to kind of unwind?
I like to, like, my apartment again is just like my sacred space. So just being here, like I said, the joy of staying in is everything for me. But if I can find the moment, and sometimes if I have the opportunity in the afternoon and I'm feeling overwhelmed or a bit burnt out, I just get on my sofa. I get a hot water bottle right now anyway, because it's so cold, and I will get some candles going. I'll get some incense, I'll get some Palo Santo, and I'll cleanse the room.
Nice.
So I clear the energy, and then I'll play. I have this there's a really beautiful, I guess they're a band, but it's called Beautiful Chorus, and it's this group of women that kind of sing in harmonies, and like it's almost like kind of like a choir, and it's just very, very relaxing. And so
Amazing.
I just that and just try and get like stillness, because that's the thing, we live such hectic lifestyles, and aside from sleeping, we're rarely taking that time to just be with ourselves and checking in. So that's kind of the moment when that's my ritual for kind of doing that.
And in terms of, you know, I'm going back to your candles, because I know that you like your candles, and you do like, that's your kind of your when you kind of that sort of symbol to yourself that you're taking that time to yourself. One of the tips I will give you in terms of burning candles, make sure that once you've burnt our candles are made of soy wax, unbleached wicks as well. When you light them, make sure that the top of the candle is completely liquid before you turn it off again, so it gives you a really nice burn the whole way through. And always,
as in the wax is melted.
Yeah, so the top of the surface of the candle is completely melted before you blow it out. When you relight it, just take off a little bit of the top of the wick, so trim the wick, and it just makes the aroma last far, far longer. So a little bit of a top tip for your candle.
Why?
Say that again, sorry.
Why?
So in terms of keeping it all liquid at the top means that you'll have an even burn the whole way through the candles. So do you know sometimes how candles will just light? So that doesn't happen. Just make sure the liquid the candle wax is completely liquid at the top, and it will just have an even burn the whole way through. And to take off the wick or to trim the wick before you relight it, it's simply, sometimes you know how you can get that kind of smoky smell with candles, and they end up sort of seeping through into the candle, and the candle turns out a little bit darker. If you trim your wick before you relight your candle, it will avoid that happening.
Oh, I love that. It's very
Okay.
so I do love my candles.
One of the other plus I know that you've mentioned that you quite like, and I kind of wanted to go through with everybody, and just to let you know, there is a discount code that runs until Sunday, and the code is Caggie20, so you get a 20% discount running until Sunday, so just to be aware of that. Caggie, I know that you also really like the Ultimate Collection, which has all of our blends in here. I also kind of wanted to go through how to use those, because I know, again, sometimes it's the pouring scenario does happen. So you've got in your Ultimate Collection, you've got one of each of the blends, one of each of our 10 blends, and how to use it. You'd pour 2 capfuls onto your torso, or a third of that bottle onto before you bathe as well. And the best thing about this, especially on these kind of nights in, is the fact that you can go through that collection one by one, not looking at the name, just smelling it, using your sense of smell to kind of walk you through these oils, and then see which one that actually your body picks. It's quite a nice little treat.
Because depending on like what you're feeling or what you're needing, you'll gravitate towards something different. Absolutely. And that's one of the ways aromatherapy works. You know, you'll have that kind of, if you've ever had a massage before, there will be a memory stuck in there associated with that oil. So you'll be drawn to it. It could be the case, actually, maybe it's an oil that during childhood you might have been used, and you're drawn to it at that moment. And then obviously how the oils work. So physically, they will have all different properties depending on what oil it is, or depending on how you will feel. So you've got obviously your deep relax in there, which is about getting a good night's rest. You've got Revive Morning, which is all about energizing. And getting the day after a good start. We've got De-Stress Mind, amazing. Actually, for you, I think if you've been super busy recently, if you need to kind of switch off the mind, focus the mind a little bit more, De-Stress Mind is great. And so on. And again, for me, I think it's that kind of magic of, you think sometimes you want something, but actually your body tells you something completely different, because you're being drawn to it via the sense of smell. Mm-hmm. And one thing I also forgot to say, if anyone does have questions, please do post them into the chat as we go along. We will try and answer as many as we can at the end. So do keep posting, and we will go back to your questions at the end. So Caggie, Saturn Returns. Yeah.
Can you tell us a bit about your book? I'm super excited about this. Tell us a little bit about it.
Got to say, this is just such a beautiful box before we kind of move on to the Saturn Returns stuff. Like a part of me wants to like give it to my mum or something, but then a big part of me is like, I'm gonna keep it.
Give her a couple of blends, keep the rest of the blends for you.
Yeah, I might do actually. Yeah, so Saturn Returns, for those on the call that haven't heard of me, yeah, she did say it's Caggie20 for the discount.
That's it.
It's been a project that I've been working on for the last 3 years, and it started out as a podcast, and we kind of grew, I guess, through the pandemic and developed our community and our audience over that time. And that was, a challenging time for a lot of people in many, many ways. And yeah, over that period, I've also been penning my first book, which is now available and came out a week ago today. And it's essentially about my own Saturn returns journey. And for those that don't know, your Saturn return happens in your late 20s as Saturn returns to the same place it was in the sky when you were born. And within the realms of astrology, this is viewed as an initiation into adulthood and sort of your cosmic coming of age as you sort of meet the karma of how you've been living your life so far for the sort of previous 29 odd years. And so it can be a confronting moment when we feel, you know, there's a lot of issues or themes around authority, responsibility, discipline. Saturn as a planet is associated with, you know, these quite heavy terms. And as a planet, it is viewed as quite a punitive sort of taskmaster. But the whole concept of the podcast and the book is to reframe not only people's view of Saturn, and I have Nora, who's the astrologer who contributes to the book and the podcast, who helps me do that, but also to alleviate people's feelings of sort of shame and isolation through challenging times in their life, and unpacks, a lot of personal stuff that I went through in terms of really my relationship with myself, and to be as open and honest and vulnerable about that. And it's been quite a beautiful journey. That's kind of it in a nutshell.
That sounds amazing. And tell me, in terms of sort of this astrology, what kind of got you into this? What was the kind of the path that led you to look more into this?
Well, I would say I've always been a spiritual person, but I disconnect from that aspect of myself throughout my 20s because I think I was trying to fit in and trying to be cool, and, you know, was around a certain friendship group. And so I kind of shied away from that part of me, that kind of part that had that connection to something else. And then when I was 27, I moved to LA, and I went through this like big shift, and I was meeting different people and learning about different, you know, spiritual practices and teachers, and it was far more invited and encouraged there. So I kind of lent into that side of myself a bit more. But then it was really, and then someone told me when I was there that I was about to go through my Saturn return, and I was very interested and fascinated by the concept and very drawn to the idea. I think we're often as individuals just drawn to certain things. It might be a person, a place, or something. And I was just really drawn to Saturn. Honestly, it's quite weird. And then I sort of started writing about ideas around Saturn return, that I wanted to create something, some way of storytelling. And initially the idea was TV, because I guess that's where I come from. And I kind of parked the project because I was like, I don't really know how I'll bring that to life. And then when I actually came back to London and went through my Saturn return, and it kind of, towards the end of it, I went through a big breakup, and that sort of catapulted me into, as often breakups they can be a catalyst for a lot of personal growth, into kind of committing to this stuff more fully. And then started putting together the podcast, and then launched it, you know, a couple of months later. And it's been really lovely because it's just been, you know, it's like mirrored my experience whilst the audience is navigating these things, and I'm learning as I'm speaking to people, and I'm having to embody the principles and the lessons myself. So it's a constant anchoring for me, which is something that I really needed.
You know, we've got a question, which is really interesting. Would you recommend the book if you've already gone through your Saturn return?
100%. So many of our audience are actually quite a lot older. And for them, they messaged me saying, this has helped me so much to make sense of this period of my life. But equally, the themes that are explored in it are applicable to anyone. Like those things might hit you at any point if you're struggling with anxiety or depression, or the relationship you have with your body. It's very much like grounded in those kind of things, and friendship and family, like whilst it's centered around that period of life, because that's when I had to kind of face all those things head on, it's still stuff that I'm working through and a constant a constant work in progress.
Got another question here. So well past the 20 Saturn return, does it come around again? Does it come around again?
It does come around again. So kind of to tie in with the previous question as well, whilst we have, the Saturn return is the one that gets a lot of press, let's say, and is the big moment, we also have, like, Saturn works in the same way as Earth does in terms of having seasons, but Saturn's seasons are 7 years. So with that, Saturn has these visits throughout our life. And if you reflect on when you were 7, you were 14, 21, till Saturn return, and so on and so forth, these are all quite big milestones in our initiation into adulthood, as we kind of are forced to confront things, grapple with our own identity, our sort of place in the world. And so you also have your second Saturn return, because it does a full, return in just under 30 years. As you're approaching your 60th, you have your second Saturn return. And if you are lucky, you'll have a third as you're approaching your 90th. But within that, you have these initiations, and they're called squares and oppositions.
Gosh, it's fascinating. I'd heard of kind of this sort of 7-year gap in your life, where kind of sort of stages, so we say, but I had never heard of the concept. So it's fascinating. It really is. We've got a little bit of a different question. Someone is struggling to sleep, and they were wondering what your bedtime routine is to sleep.
Mm-hmm. So I've been fortunate for the most part that I am a good sleeper. My boyfriend struggles with sleep immensely, and I can see how painful it is, because when you aren't sleeping, it throws everything off kilter, because you're just not functioning properly.
Yeah.
So I really empathize with that. But I think being really strict on your bedtime rituals, and they are no screen time. You can get, like, I think it's like blue light glasses or something, that basically, if you are on your phone or using screens or watching TV, that kind of helps with that. But ideally, you want to be not on your phone, not, if possible, to not even have your phone in the room that you sleep in. Maybe if you need an alarm clock, just get like an old school one, because so many of us are just like that. And, historically, we would, before we had light and electricity, we would work with, the sun, and like, that's how we would know when to sleep and to get up. There was this really interesting thing someone told me the other day, that we still get this burst of energy as the sun's setting, because in history, that was a time where we realized we had to get home, we had to get back to like the tribe, and if we've been out, and so at that point we suddenly get this like, okay, we've got to get the energy to get home, which I found, like, sometimes I think about that in terms of people that do struggle with sleep, because I think they sometimes get like more awake at night, or anyway, I digress. But so yeah, being really disciplined with screen time, and then also like creating a space that when in your bedroom, that's really like your bed is just for sleeping, like not working there, not being on your phone, like having that as a place that you go to, no distractions. I find playing something really helps. Everybody's got a different preference, but personally for me, when I did go through a period of struggling with sleep, and it was because of anxiety, I found listening to Abraham Hicks really powerful. So for those that don't know, Abraham Hicks is an amazing spiritual teacher. She sort of channels things. And it's like that if you look on YouTube, there's a lot of her talks with music underneath it. So it will have kind of calming music, but it will have her voice. And I find her voice really relaxing, and like her messaging kind of seeps into the subconscious. And so that tends to send me off to sleep if I'm getting a bit worked up. And then what are the other things? I mean, having like a bath with essential oils is like such a beautiful way to just give yourself that moment before bed, like calming down your body, checking in with your state, because we do get very like amped up throughout the day. If we aren't properly giving ourselves time to wind down and those rituals, then we get into bed and we're still like completely wired. So I think, having a real ritual with that is important.
Hence why I do think, you know, that unwind, that I always kind of say that your mind needs to stop before you can get to sleep. So if your mind's still going 100 miles an hour, hence why I think the de-stress mind blend I think would be an amazing one, during these busy periods to kind of just help that sort of stop the chattering, just stop and focus the mind. It's got frankincense in there, which again, it's a very spiritual oil. A lot of essential oils are quite, but frankincense in particular is a super spiritual oil. It's known for its kind of ability to kind of deepen our breathing, so it's used obviously a lot within sort of religious ceremonies, but also yoga practitioners really do kind of, it benefits any kind of breath work, shall we say, and we know that obviously breathing properly does kind of send us into that state of rest and repair. We've got lots of there's another question here, actually for us, apology, we've got one asking how long to leave on the rose clay mask. So generally, if you've got it in on your face, we generally say 7 to 10 minutes. 7 minutes for a drier skin, 10 minutes for a more oily combination skin. But in terms of if you've got it in your hair, so you're relaxing in the bath with it in your hair or on your body, so when you've got it in your chest, again, you can leave it as long as you're in the bath and then just wash it out before coming out of the bath. I'm going to do another quick finger round, quick question to win Caggie's book. So fastest finger first, who can name Caggie's new book? There you go. That was, I think it was Gary. Well done, Gary. You have won Caggie's new book. Amazing. And just to kind of, I'm going to quickly go back up because there's a few questions coming through, Caggie. So just bear with me a moment. I'm going to scroll back up again.
Just to say to Karen, I think she was thinking of gifting her daughter-in-law's the book, but hasn't read it herself. Do you think it would be appreciated or not ready from a mother-in-law? 100% it would be appreciated. Ooh. They would love it. I mean, are they into astrology at all? They don't have to be, but
it's quite a spiritual book as well. Like I mean, it's yeah. I would buy it for them, definitely, absolutely. And as you say, Caggie, it's not a one-time thing. It comes back around again. So
I imagine like that. Well, given that the majority of my audience is like women in their 20s and 30s, but yeah, they're the ones that see, because like again, when they're about to go into it, they're like, oh wow, this is useful.
Question for you. How can I convince my family that self-care isn't selfish? I think that's quite a common thing, isn't it? We kind of we stop ourselves from doing things thinking, oh, you know, it's perceived to be as selfish, but how can they convince their family it is not selfish?
I think with this kind of stuff, again, like I think it's especially pervasive as women, that we are fast to kind of demote ourselves to the bottom of the list in terms of priority and put everyone else above us. And, you know, whilst that's a very generous thing to be doing, if you aren't nurturing yourself or filling your own cup, it's hard to actually be able to be of service or show up in the right way for people. So my sort of belief around self-care is like, when you can know to set a boundary when actually you need to take time for yourself, that is a gesture of love to yourself. And then actually you can show up more fully for other people because you aren't burning yourself out. And I think we all know when we feel like we're forced to do something or we don't really have the energy to do it, we just feel depleted and we can't be our full selves and we can't show up fully to that situation or that person. And at the same time, like, you shouldn't need to justify taking care of yourself to anyone.
Absolutely. It is that whole the old concept of the air mask onto you first, the oxygen mask on you first.
Exactly. And I think it takes a moment to reprogram our minds to actually check in. We're so fast to just be like, yes, I'll do that. Yes, I'll go to this thing. Yes, I'll be there for you in this way. Yes, I'll go and pick up that thing, rather than actually going, okay, what do I have the capacity to do today? Like, am I spreading myself too thin and not going to actually be able to deliver in the best way possible. And that's something that to be honest, like I'm having to recognize in myself at the moment. I think, you know, it's tempting to just want to be all the things to everyone at all times, but it's not sustainable.
No, absolutely. I've got a question for me. What do I do on an evening where stuff has been when plans have been cancelled? So I'm a mother of two. So any plans has been cancelled means an early night for me. I mean, definitely a bath, especially in this cold weather. Definitely a bath. I'm a bit like you, Caggie. I do have a lot of candles in my bathroom. We have done our bathroom up, so I'm very fortunate that I have a bath tub that I can actually put them around as well. So absolutely early night, because as you're saying, Caggie, sleep is so important. So if you can have like a couple of extra hours, bath, candlelit bath, definitely some pure essential oils. I mean, my favorite one, I don't know if you've ever used it, it's actually a blend called Revive Evening, geranium and patchouli. It's beautiful, and it's actually, the name kind of suggests it gives you energy. It's more sort of emotional energy, so that would be my kind of go-to, because it just smells divine. If you've got it, it's like perfume. I love it, absolutely love it. It was actually created to kind of boost your kind of inner confidence, and created for someone with low self-esteem, bit of an introvert. So each of those blends have a beautiful story behind them, and that one particularly I love. So yeah,
Inner strength.
that again.
Inner strength.
Inner Strength, again, is a bittersweet story. When we launched Inner Strength, we hadn't launched a blend in over 10 years. It was just so, we were waiting for a new blend. We kind of thought, you know what, we've done all the blends, there's nothing else that we can create. And then Inner Strength came about, and we just thought, oh my gosh, of course. So Inner Strength was created by one of the founders, Geraldine Howard, when she was going through a period of illness, and she created for herself to kind of just pull her through it. And it's literally what the name, the oil is called, is just what it's all about. So physically, emotionally pulling you through whatever it is that you've gone through, even if it is your Saturn return. It could be a breakup, it could be losing your job, being made redundant, anything life's thrown at you that's kind of knocked you for six. You think, well, how do I pull through? It's beautiful. For me, it almost has quite almost kind of cocoa-y, like chocolatey. You've got cardamom in there, you've got clary sage, again frankincense. It's a beautiful blend, and I love the story about that. We've got another question. Caggie, what do you recommend doing when you don't feel mentally strong?
What do I recommend doing when I don't feel mentally strong? I think it's kind of like, you know, the stuff we've covered in terms of actually, what do you need to feel mentally strong again? What are, like, do you have practices or things that you do? And for me, one of them is literally just like being still and knowing, like, you know, not all days need to be great, and not all days do we have to be performing to our best. And I think we do live in a society and a culture that awards and promotes this sort of perfectionism, that's this go, and you see people online doing all the things at all times, and like, we're not wired that way. We're human beings, and we're flawed, and we're delicate, and we do have days where we don't feel mentally very, very good. I have them, you know, quite a lot. And perhaps the most important thing is to be gentle with yourself when you do feel that way. And if you have a handful of people, or even just one person that you can go to, like I saw this thing on, I think it was on social media, and it was like, on days where I'm not feeling very strong, can you remind me of who I am? And just like having someone that can make you feel like seen and supported, because we do need people around us. We're wired for connection. And I think we can all, in a city like, well, I know in a city like London, it's like, it can be quite a lonely place sometimes, because it has got that go, and it's not really necessarily catered for community or like neighborly behavior. So actually being able to call on people and just like let myself come undone, to not try and fix it or get rid of it, just to kind of soften into it and let go and know that that's okay, and that in a couple of days' time or however long it will be, I will feel stronger again. You know, I always liken it to the seasons, like we view ourselves in this very detached way from the seasons, and actually we operate in a very similar way. We're not supposed to be blossoming or in summer all the time. We have our winter, we have our time where we need to be introspective and indoors and kind of looking after ourselves, and then we go out into the world. So I find reminding myself of that quite useful. Yeah,
Absolutely. Do you know, I think kind of you've hit the nail on the head. It's so go 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 all the time. That we do. We have. It is good to stop. And I think that kind of goes back to the message for today. You know, that joy of missing out. Take it by the hand. You know, grab it with both hands and make
I
most.
probably do it like, and I'm saying this as much to myself as anyone else, but like, even turning your phone off or deleting social media for an evening, like, because how many of us say, oh, we're going to have an evening in, and then spend a lot of it looking online thinking, oh no, I should be out and look at what all these people are doing, and actually just really indulging in your alone time and your own sort of sacred space.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. The last prize is up for grab, guys. So fastest finger first to tell us what was one of Caggie's favourite products. So favourite products of ours. Oh. I'm going to leave my colleagues to pick up the top one. So Caggie mentioned one of her favourites, the collection, the Ultimate Bath and Shower Oil collection, and the candles as well. So I will leave my colleagues to look through all of those now. Just a quick reminder as well. The discount code for those of you who didn't hear is Caggie20. It's running into Sunday. If you are wanting to buy a gift for yourself, to ensure that you are making the most of these nights in, our beautiful Dreamy Night in edit is available online. That has the deep relaxed blend that we have spoken about, so giving you that good night's rest. You've got that beautiful relaxed candle to set the scene, light it to really kind of bring that spa feel inside into the home. And then not forgetting the beautiful pink clay mask that is multi-purpose, so you can use it in your hair, on your face, and on your body. I'm going to shout out for any other last questions that you might have before we wrap up for the evening. Okay, I just want to say thank you already. It has been fantastic speaking to you, and I've loved hearing about Saturn Return. It's super. So thank you. We really appreciate it. I think we've got lots of people saying they're going for a bath now.
My second of the evening. Just to say, because Maddie, you mentioned something about sleep, struggling with sleep. Because like I said, my boyfriend struggles with it really badly, but I found this app called Pizzazz.
Oh.
And anyway, it's like and we listen to it every night, and it's just, and you can pick a different sound and a different voice and a different story, and then you kind of get used to the ones that you like, and it kind of just gets you into that state, that sort of like calming state. And then also breath work. I think even just finding on YouTube, you can find a breath work pattern that can kind of calm your nervous system, because I think that gets quite amped up. So yeah, I hope that helps.
You know what, when you're doing your breath work, make sure you put your essential oil on that diffuser, the atomizer, because it almost kind of, it will enhance that breath work, because of the fact you're actually inhaling those essential oils in, and they're physically going to calm you down and put you into that state of rest and repair. So yeah, I'm a massive fan. I'm a therapist at heart, so I absolutely, breath work is.
Find the app, because I know.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sleep.
We've got lots of love for the rose face. Please do more, maybe a skin nourishment. Do you know that pink clay mask is one of my favorite products. We launched it just as we came out of the second lockdown, and it was just a go-to, just as a bit of a treat at home when we couldn't actually go and see anybody. And oh, I love it, absolutely. Oh, there you go. Thank you, Caggie. Caggie's now popped it into the chat, guys. I think someone asked about what the app was called, so it's there now for you. Caggie, again, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us all. I think it's been super interesting for me. I hope that everyone has taken something away that they can kind of utilize now on these sort of the last of the hopefully dreary nights in January. And as I said, making the most of, you know, those joy of missing out, and those cancelled plans. Look after yourselves.
Yeah, well, thank you, Christina. It's been really lovely. And thank you all for joining us.
Yes, thank you so much, guys.
Caggie 20. So the final reminder of that. And I
And
hope
good luck with the rest of the launch, Caggie. Say that again, sorry.
I said, I hope you all have a lovely bath.
Yeah, absolutely, definitely. Caggie, good luck with the rest of your book launch. And hopefully we'll see you soon. Have a good weekend, everybody, and stay well.
All right, take care, guys. Bye.